Thank you, Dr. Melton. That was a lot of good information, and we appreciate you so much. Number 9, approval of the minutes of the February 8th, 2021 board meeting. Do I have a motion? Ms. Gardner.
I move that we approve the minutes of the February 8th, 2021 board meeting.
Do I have a second? Ms. Hines seconds. All those in favor?
I have an amendment.
You have an,
Yeah.
Ms. Huddle has an amendment.
I move to exclude the first attachment because it exceeds the 10-page maximum required or allowed by policy BEDG. Ms. Massengale, my second grade teacher, taught me that 5 times 2, BEDG allows a 5-page document front and back, is 10. And the first attachment to the minutes was 17 pages. And I hate to be picky, but it's the policy.
Okay, and it was how many pages?
It was 17, and there's
Okay.
only 10 allowed by BEDG.
All right. Well, let me have a second, and we'll discuss that. I have a second. Mr. Lovelace seconds. Okay. And then all those in favor of the amendment? Okay. You want to speak? Yeah. Well, we've got to.
It's the first attachment. There were several attachments. I'd have to go look at the attachment again. Hold on, let me pull up the minutes.
Mr. White, she made an amendment, though, approving the minutes to amend it to we only have 10 pages because we have 17. Is that correct?
It's attachment number 1, and it is yours, and it goes to 17 pages.
And what is it?
It starts with a agenda item request email, and then there's several other pages in it, but the total was 17 pages.
And so is it one item or is it multiple?
It's one item. There's multiple items are attached to the agenda. If you pull up your minutes that we were sent, this is attachment 1, and it's numbered, and the pages go all the way up to 17, and then there's an attachment 2, which was within the 10 pages. That was, and then there's an attachment 3 that was also within the 10 pages.
Well, if we need a second before we did, and then we can discuss
I
it.
think it was seconded.
It was, okay, I'm sorry. And Mr. White, since it was yours, do you want to add it to, divide it so it's 10 for, you have an over?
I don't have it in front of me. I can either put it back in or you can take the first 10 pages.
Right, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask you, since it's
So
yours.
just take the first 10 pages and then I'll look at the attachments and I'll submit them
Okay.
separately if I want to submit them. I have to go back and see what it is.
All right, so we'll vote on the amendment to follow the policy of just 10 pages. All those vote? Okay, questions, yes?
Okay,
Mr. Lovelace?
you'd recommend me?
Yeah.
Madam Chair? If you are going to put items in that were not discussed in the next meeting, why would that be appropriate? I mean, when I had things that I did not present, I was not allowed to put them in under the previous chair. So is that, I don't mind anything going in there.
I don't either.
But if we're going to break the rules, why are we going to allow somebody to come back at a subsequent meeting when the items weren't even discussed at that meeting and start putting things in? That just, to me, is not, I don't think that was what this was intended for. Take my...
You had your hand up, Ms. Gardner?
I just want clarification. The actual amendment is that we will take those pages out.
Out, yes, that was the amendment.
Okay.
Okay. So let's vote on that. And then, Mr. Lovelace, I think you make a good point, but I don't have to study this book. But my assumption was any board member could place something in. Mr. White?
Yeah, and I would, with two things. I'll either break it into sections of 10, and if there's separate document, I can't pull it up right now.
Right.
If there's separate documents, then each one can be a separate submission. But the policy is based on a statute. The statute overrides policy. So if y'all want to take a hard line, get a legal conclusion, because there is a statute that says any board member can put anything on the minutes. And to the extent we want to slice and dice it, I wasn't the prior board chair. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember what these are now, but if it is an email and there's attachments, then consider the attachments separate on the record statements.
Okay, have no problem with that. All right, all those in favor of the amendment? Ms. Hines, I'm sorry, didn't see.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Just in general, because I'm looking at it for the first time. Well, I'm not looking at it for the first time. I'm looking at it in the lens of what Ms. Huddle's motion is, attachment 1 or attachment 2. So are attachments, are they individual documents or are they submissions by an individual board member? Because I just would like clarification, because I think, I didn't write the attachment numbers on the actual exhibits. I guess my question is one document, one email, an attachment, or is it an entire group of documents from one board
yeah.
member an attachment? I just want clarification moving forward.
Well, I think since Mr. White is the one that put them in there, and he's satisfied with being sure it's all in there for sake of time, I think we can
Right,
just
I'm
vote on
just
it.
curious.
Ms. Hammond, I just pulled it up.
Okay.
These are separate documents. Each document needs to be set. There's an
Okay.
email, the longest one is Attorney General's opinion, and if you want to take the first 10 pages of the Attorney General opinion, do that.
Okay.
The rest of these are separate documents, and they should be submitted as separate submissions.
Okay.
And none of them are more than 10 pages.
Okay, but the one is the first
I
one.
think it is. You can count. If you
Well, I
get,
don't have it up, but
Aaron can go back and check it, and each
it's
one.
strange. Do you mind checking that? I understand your point. You're saying the others are.
Yeah, I mean, there's,
Okay.
one of these is a definition out of a dictionary, okay, that's one page.
Okay,
The definition of a committee. Okay, the Attorney General's opinion, if you get the first 10 pages, everybody will know what the Attorney General's opinion says and where they can find it. The email is only a couple of pages.
okay. Well, I don't think we have any argument about that. I think we're following the policy if we fix the one that's the first 10 pages. Okay, we good? Well, let's vote on that so we can move on. Those in favor of Ms. Huddle's amendment, so we can approve the minutes. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? 2. Okay. And then let's vote on approval of the minutes of the February 8, 2021 board meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? 0. All right, and that brings us to public participation. And let me read our little, the board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and the decorum provided in Board Policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Questions asked during the public participation will be handled in accordance with Board Policy BEDH. And I think we have a couple of students, and they are going to be first, so they can go home and study. Savannah Stevens.
Gosh, I feel short now. Okay. Sorry. I'm Savannah Stevens. I am a 5 virtual student. I was an Escalors prior to this year. And I have a couple concerns about next school year. One is, am I going to be getting the same education I would in 5 if I go back to face-to-face? Because I know for a fact that I've actually been learning every single day. While I know, like, my friends at Irma Middle School have not during face-to-face. My second concern is about the course options. Of course, I know my St. Escalors is going to be taken because if I do 5 next year. But also with band, that will not be out for next year. And that means I can't do region band, all-state band, and all these other things that I would love to do. So I basically kind of have to go back to school, and I know a bunch of other people in band have to do that too. So those are my main concerns. I have one question, and that is, how do you plan to follow the procedures like social distance and wearing masks with so many kids going back to school? Because if you take away band and Escalors, I know that means a lot of people that were in 5 that do that are going to have to go back to school. So, I mean, that kind of means that the classes might actually be full, and then it might not be safe to go back to school. which is huge to me because I have family members that have underlying conditions, and I do want to be safe for them and for me because that is super important to me. And so I am kind of scared to go back to school because of that. But then I would like to say that y'all kind of notified us very late. I mean, we had less than a week to apply, less than a week to accept, and whenever you apply, that is when you figure out that the magnet that you were in, you cannot do that if you do 5. And I did not know band until Wednesday of last week. So obviously that made it very stressful, and I know there's a lot of other kids that are in my place trying to make this decision. And so it has been very stressful, and I'd love for y'all to reconsider the course options and also reconsider the time you allowed us because in my opinion and in others, it was very short, and that has all made it very stressful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lakin Robinson.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Melton. My name is Lakin Robinson, and I am a junior at Irmo High School. I come to you tonight to speak on behalf of my peers and my school and to speak to everyone in D5. I'm a fully virtual student this year due to members of my family being high risk, and I didn't want to take the COVID-19 virus home to them. This was a very hard decision for me to make due to the genuine love I have for going to school, which started 12 years ago when I was a kindergartner at Nursery Road Elementary when Dr. Melton was our very proud principal. Being in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, I am considered to be a student that takes specialty courses through Irmo due to there not being enough IB teachers for both the 5 Academy and Irmo High. This means that I join a Google Meet every day where I watch as my teachers tirelessly teach to both in-person and online students at the same times, sometimes multiple classes at once. And while I say this should not be the case, I want to personally thank every single teacher and staff in this district for doing what they do every single day. Because as I told my fantastic IB biology teacher, Dr. Crawford, y'all are killing it. I want to thank my teachers that respond to my stressed out self sending emails at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night. I want to thank my teachers who are up until 2 a.m. grading papers. I want to thank everyone that contributes to my personal and my peers' education, that prepares us to proudly represent our school district when we attend college or go directly into work. I want to thank every teacher that wakes up with uncertainty of how their day is going to look in regards to quarantines and if they're going to be teaching at home that day or at school, and their ability to punt to change plans on the spot. While I am proud to be a D5 student, I am equally as disgusted to see how my school board is treating my teachers. 2 years ago, I stood in front of y'all to receive an honorary pin in honor of the Bands of Irmo medaling 3 years in a row at state. I was on cloud 9. But at the end of a board meeting a few months ago, my only thought was, wow, I'm glad to be leaving in a year and a half. Don't let me continue to have these thoughts. I want to continue to be proud to have this pen. I ask you to please keep our teachers in mind when making decisions that directly impact them. I don't want my education or any others to be impacted negatively in a top-tier school district by teachers leaving this profession due to their treatment by our school board during a global pandemic. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Beth Hutchinson.
Good evening. It's nice to see all of you, and I'm especially delighted to see our staff. I certainly have missed you, and it's great to see you. As Ms. Hammond said, my name is Beth Hutchison, and I live in Irmo, and I served on this board for 18 years and retired in November. It was a wonderful experience. Recently, I reviewed the agendas of the last 7 meetings that have taken place since the new board took over, and I noticed that a lot of the agenda items did not address the topic of supporting student success, and that is concerning to me. For example, on tonight's agenda, item 13 is a discussion and possible action regarding the actions of a trustee in relation to his or her relationships with current and potential district vendors. The board packet does not contain any information, does not contain an exhibit that says what this is. Therefore, how do board members know how to prepare, or much less vote, as it implies? I was here for the beginning at 6 o'clock, and I heard that Ms. Hammond has a statement, so clearly board officers are aware of this. But I don't know how many other board members. The public also doesn't know what's going on, so there's a lack of transparency. Based on social media posts and recent board meetings, I will venture to guess that this is about Mr. Ed White. What I have heard and read is that the board majority is claiming that Mr. White has broken ethics laws. Yet the Ethics Commission has made no such ruling. There's no evidence of that. For the record, and this is one of the topics I think they have a problem with, it is not illegal to accept gifts from vendors.
Ms. Hutchinson,
Yes.
I don't know that we should mention a board member by
Okay,
name.
I will.
I think that's our rule.
Sure. For the record, it's not illegal to accept gifts from vendors. Ask our state and national leaders about the donations they get from vendors, businesses, and others. They handle legislation all the time that impacts the interests of their donors. So until it's illegal, it's not illegal. It's important for the public to know that only one board member has an ethics conflict recognized by the South Carolina Ethics Commission. In fact, there are 2 ethics opinions regarding this $1.2 million contract with the construction company. I have not named any names. I did not name any names, Ms. Hammond.
Okay.
By the
But
inclusion,
I'm gonna
by
refer
the
to all that.
inclusion of item 13 in tonight's agenda, the board majority appears to be playing politics and trying to direct attention away from that board meeting.
Time's up.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
I hope you'll stick around because you'll hear some answers. Debbie Goodman.
Good evening. I am here to read a statement on behalf of someone else and actually a few comments of my own. Here on behalf of Kim Benson, who is quarantined, and she is a 5 virtual academy parent of a Spring Hill High School junior and an Irmo Middle School 8th grader. I'm not going to mention, I'm reading to you what she has said, okay? This is what she has stated. Now that a board member has received a notice from the State Ethics Commission, that topic no longer needs to be addressed publicly. The State Ethics Commission only deals with current and potential issues, and this board needs to do the same, deal with current and potential issues and opportunities in our school. We voted you on to this board to support Dr. Melton in one of the most challenging times ever presented to her and her staff. You are here to help her, not hinder. We ask you to put aside petty differences and focus what our teachers, students, and families need. Safe schools where CDC guidelines prevail, satisfied teachers and staff who are vaccinated and appreciated, sound policies, including a virtually present third option policy that is consistent across the district, a solid 5 program for next year and beyond, one that includes all grade levels and has the opportunity to grow in size and scope. That's the end of what Kim Benson had to say. And then I'd also like to add a few comments of my own, and I'd really like to just appeal to your hearts and your sense of reason. There are just times that I feel, and a lot of people feel, that you do not need to spend valuable time on petty personal agendas. That's for middle schoolers, not adults. This board needs to concentrate on what is best for the teachers, the students, and the staff of this district, and not on themselves. Please, please let Dr. Melton do the job that she was hired to do and not micromanage her. And please, you do the job that you were chosen to do by the voters of this community. This includes not wasting valuable time and resources, especially adding unnecessary committees. You are not letting Dr. Melton do her job. Please just think of the children. Thank you.
I can assure you, we are thinking of the children. Ms. Heather Tucker.
Hi, I'm Heather Tucker, and I currently have a second grader in our district, and I have two boys coming up right behind him. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, to the district leadership and to the board. We live in one of the wealthiest districts in our state, and in a time when we should be leading and innovating, we are falling and failing. We are failing our teachers, we are failing our students, and we are failing the taxpayers in this district. We voted for change in November. We voted for transparency. We voted for fiscal responsibility. We voted for tough decisions. We voted for a board that would put aside these petty differences and make the best decisions for our kids. And what have we gotten? We have seen technology issues of kids assessing inappropriate content without a solution. We've seen excuses on why dashboards are not updated. We've seen votes for continuing 5 next year without ever seeing a budget for it. We have continued to see petty arguments between board members taking up valuable time when real decisions that affect our children and their future need to be made. And we have seen this board take the easy way out on redistricting. Do better. Do I want my kids to stay at Lake Murray Elementary? Absolutely. But doing a partial rezoning this year is only going to prolong the problems. Yes, this is hard. Yes, this is not ideal in the middle of COVID, but that is your job. And if that means admitting that the district spent a lot of money on consultants in a new school, but that the options you're currently faced with are not the best for the district, admit the mistakes and wait. Wait until you have the best information to make the right decision for this district. Make the hard decisions. Do what's best for D5. Is this hard for you as a board? Heck yes, I can't imagine having your job. But as for you new members, you ran for office in the middle of a global pandemic and you knew redistricting was on the agenda, so you knew what you were getting into. Lastly, I want to speak to public participation. Since the policy was changed many years ago, public input has been too little too late. As evidenced tonight with the discussion about Piney Woods Elementary, no one even knew that was being discussed. There have been too few readings, and policy decisions critically important to us parents have been decided before we even have a chance to speak up. In essence, you're allowing people like me to simply provide lip service before you make a motion to close a meeting after these issues have already been decided. This is not what we elected you for, and this is not transparency. I encourage you to look at changing that board policy. Having spent my career in public finance, I can tell you that input from all parties is critical. Backing yourself into a corner before hearing from your public and taking advice from experts often leads to failure of options to solve a problem. And when there's failure of options, the ultimate result is failure to solve the problem. And that's what I fear we are beginning to see, failure to solve problems. And I don't want my children's future compromised because leaders can't lead or make hard decisions or be responsible with taxpayer funds. The decisions you make now will affect this district for decades. Do better.
Thank you. Leslie Stiles.
Good evening. I didn't realize when I spoke last time that I was supposed to give either my email, my web address, or something so people could find me. So if y'all at home are looking for me, it's Deep Dive into D5. And Ms. Hammond, I'm glad you found your gavel. However, it'd be nice if you used it appropriately for everyone instead of just people who disagree with you. And for all of the public who's watching tonight, I definitely agree with Ms. Tucker, the prior speaker. It has been too little too late for all of us speaking out for our children and what we voted for as taxpayers, and it's time to change that. So I would like to just spend a minute reading from your board policy, BCA, and I'd like to point out a few things that I would like to see from this board. A board member should honor critical responsibilities in understanding the basic function of a school board is policy making, not administration, and by accepting responsibility of learning to discriminate intelligently between these two functions. Refusing to play politics in either the traditional partisan or any petty sense. representing at all times the entire school district, accepting the responsibility of becoming well-informed concerning the duties of the board member and proper functions of public schools. A board member should respect his or her relationships with other members of the board. This would be nice to see. Recognize the integrity of your predecessors and associates and the merit of their work. This school district was built by decades of community involvement, and we don't want to hear what the old board did versus what the new board did. You're all the board. You all represent our school district, and you build on that legacy, and we don't like for you to try to further divide the community with your actions. Refuse to participate in irregular meetings, such as secret or star chamber meetings, which are not official and all members do not have the ability to attend, or applicable knowledge of everything that's going on in the board, which I don't believe is happening. I don't believe this board is transparent even with its own members. A board member should maintain desirable relations with the superintendent of the school, giving the superintendent full administrative authority for properly discharging her professional duties and holding her responsible for the acceptable results. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is from your own policy. And there are lots of other policies that I hope you will cover in training, because the public is watching, and we are waiting for you to lead our district and provide the world-class education for our kids that we expect and the legacy of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Murphy.
Good evening. I know that you don't check the board packet online because you receive it directly, but I wanted to point out that in tonight's packet online, the capital projects budget, the $10 million project budget, is not in the board packet. Although I did request it before the meeting, I was told that it's customary to provide the information the day after the meeting. But according to FOIA, there's no waiting period to receive this information. Potentially, this is a FOIA violation, and I really hope that this district is not going to go there, and I don't quite understand why there's a hesitancy from the administration to post this information for the public. But I also would like to request that the district include an itemization of the school-identified needs on the project, the capital projects budget. For many years, this was included, and it was very helpful for the schools and involved parents to know when certain projects and renovations would be done. Also at the last meeting, I discussed my concern about the rezoning consultant's enrollment and capacity report, and that I had never seen a report that was so full of misinformation and errors, and that it appears that its purpose is to set us up for new schools without concern for other less costly and less impactful options. I also mentioned, without stating his name, that one of the board members who is experienced in District 5 rezoning did not challenge the data or the enrollment or capacity numbers that were so significantly wrong in the consultant's report. I wonder if he might have benefited in some way for this. When I mentioned this, he interrupted me and said that the members of public are not allowed to attack school board members. I understand this policy.
Yeah.
I don't think I quite went that far, though.
Don't
But I'm
go
wondering
there.
if there is a similar policy.
You're also out of order. Here. Hey,
Ms. Hammond, this,
I will say this, I will say, we've sat here, and no, I've said, don't say a board member's name, and other speakers have criticized the board, but I'd rather you not call out any one board member. That's the rule. Mr. White?
no,
Do
but
you have a problem?
the conversation last time was, we can correct people when they make directly false information, and there's an insinuation that a board member has a financial interest or some benefit. That's absurd, okay? You need to call that out if people want to say
I
that.
don't mind, but I don't need, and you have the right to do that, you're sitting up here, but I don't need people out in the audience getting up and yelling. We are not to accuse anybody of wrongdoing, not up there, okay?
And I
We
was,
can be
I was just kind
criticized
of
like everybody.
discussing what happened and that I
Okay.
was
Well,
interrupted
just-
in the middle. But my
get it.
question is, I'm just about done, is that I'm wondering
your
if there's a
question?
similar policy for board members attacking other board members. And I will have to say that this one particular board member has done it board meeting after board meeting to another board member.
Well, just
Thank
like
you.
I
I'm
told
tired of
Ms.
that, but-
Hutchinson, I'd like you to stay tuned, because I have the statement. I now realize the statement should have been said at the very first of my meeting. I have one more. I apologize, Ms. Stephanie Lipford.
I'm the last speaker?
Yes, you
All right,
are,
well, I'm ending it on a positive note because I
Good.
think there's been enough negativity in here
because you've
today.
got Gamecocks on, that's good.
Yes, yes. Good evening, Dr. Melton and board members. I want to take the time this evening to thank you, Dr. Melton, for returning to 5 days a week face-to-face instruction as was planned at the beginning of last month. I am speaking tonight as a parent of an elementary-age child, well, children. So I cannot provide any input or feedback for what is going on at the middle or high school level. I'm strictly speaking about my experiences and my children's experiences at the elementary level. I know that you all have caught a lot of heat and have had an abundance of emails, phone calls, and other forms of communication saying that the 5 days face-to-face is not working. I am here tonight to say, as an elementary school parent, it is. The consistency it has brought to my children is more than I can put into words. My 4-year-old, who has been attending the district's wonderful 4K program, has been having a much better time with the consistency of going to school on Wednesdays now. His behavior has improved, as has retention of topics that they are learning in school. My 2nd grader no longer dreads virtual Wednesdays and happily gets up in the mornings. I used to have to drag her out of the bed on Wednesday mornings. She did not like virtual learning, and while she logged into the Google Meets and got her work done begrudgingly, she's pretty much checked out. Virtual learning may work for some, and I am glad that is an option this school year and next year for those who want to use that method of learning. As for my children, and based on the surveys of the district sent out, a majority of elementary children, the proof is they want and need face-to-face learning. With all that being said, these teachers also need a break throughout the day to be able to go to the bathroom, take their mask off for 5 minutes, and have some time for planning. I know that when I was an elementary student in District 5 at Nursery Road Elementary, that was before you, I had Dr. Kennerly, there were lunch monitors through middle school so that the teachers could have a peaceful lunch. Is this something that we could look at bringing back to the schools, not just for during a pandemic, but permanently? That way teachers are not spending their lunches opening fruit cups, string cheese, and cartons of milk. Thank you again for your time and the open lines of communication with parents and stakeholders in this district, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you for ending on a positive note. And thank you to teachers.